All right, let's dive in. AI reasoning.
Yeah.
Kind of exciting, but also, a little bit freaky.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, what happens when machines start thinking like us?
Right.
That's what we're going to explore today. Looking at OpenAI's new models, O1 and O3.
Okay.
Plus, this whole deliberative alignment thing they're talking about for AI safety. We've got some really interesting excerpts from their blog post on that.
That's a fascinating concept.
And an insightful article from Interconnects about O3, its
Hmm.
potential impact, all that.
Right.
So our mission, I guess you could say, is to figure out what all of this really means.
Mm.
Not just, like, the theoretical stuff, but how it'll affect anyone who actually uses AI in their daily life.
Absolutely. It's a big question. And it seems like OpenAI is taking it pretty seriously.
Yeah, for sure. This deliberative alignment idea, it sounds like a total game changer.
In what way?
Well, from what I understand, instead of training models with just examples of good and bad behavior,
Uh-huh.
which is how it's done now a lot of the time,
Right.
they're actually teaching the AI the rules themselves. Like, instead of showing them a bunch of do this, don't do that, they're giving them an actual rule book.
That's a great analogy.
Hmm.
And it is a really fundamental shift.
So then the AI can, like, reason through things on its own.
Exactly. It leads to much more nuanced, context-aware responses.
Uh-huh.
OpenAI gives this really interesting example in their blog post about the O1 model using something called chain of thought reasoning to decode a message that's hidden with, like, a simple cipher.
Oh, you mean like a code?
Yeah, it's called ROT13.
Is that, like, a common thing, people trying to trick AI models with codes?
Oh, definitely.
Really?
In this example, someone's trying to get the AI to give them instructions for something that breaks the safety guidelines.
That's sneaky.
Right. But they've hidden their request by encoding it with this ROT13 thing.
Uh-huh.
And here's where it gets cool. O1 not only decodes the message, but it figures out that the user is trying to make it do something it shouldn't. It actually checks this against OpenAI's own policies, and it refuses to comply.
That's so wild. It's like it's saying, nice try, buddy, but I'm not falling for that.
That's exactly it.
Wow.
And this ability to like reason through a complex situation and then actually apply those learned safety policies, that's what makes deliberative alignment so different from older methods like RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback, or even constitutional AI.
Okay, so it's not just about, like, knowing the rules, but understanding the why behind them.
You got it.
But how does this new O3 model fit into all of this?
Well, O3 was announced, what, just a few months after O1? And a lot of people see it as this massive leap forward in AI's reasoning capabilities.
Yeah.
I mean, many experts were predicting that 2024 would be kind of a year of consolidation in AI development,
Yeah,
But O3 has really shaken things up.
really. How so?
Well, for one thing, it basically solved the ARC AGI challenge.
Sorry, for those of us who aren't, AI experts, what exactly ISC, the ARC challenge?
It's a test designed to measure this very specific type of intelligence.
Okay.
The ability to learn and solve problems that the AI has never seen before. Think of it like a pure problem-solving test. Just a few months ago, reaching like an 85% accuracy on this thing was considered crazy difficult.
Oh, wow.
But O3 just blew past that.
That's super impressive. So, like, what else is O3 really good at?
Well, besides the ARC challenge, it also showed this huge improvement on a new benchmark called Frontier Math.
Frontier math. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that's probably a bit more advanced than my high school algebra.
Oh, you're definitely right about that. These problems are so complex that even like Fields medalists,
Refresh my memory.
Nobel Prize winners of mathematics, basically.
Right.
Even they find a lot of these problems super tough. But O3 managed to outperform every other model on this benchmark. It reached a 25% accuracy rate, which is a huge jump.
So it's like going head-to-head with the best math minds out there. What about coding? There are so many AI coding tools popping up these days.
Yeah, and O3's performance on those benchmarks is really something else.
Okay.
State-of-the-art results. It even got this, like, crazy high ranking on Codeforces.
What's that?
It's a competitive coding platform, pretty popular,
Okay.
and O3's score puts it at the international grandmaster level.
Seriously.
Yeah, so that means it's, like, performing among the top 200 competitive coders in the world.
So theoretically, you could just describe what you want a piece of software to do, and O3 could just write it for you.
Pretty much.
That's mind-blowing. This could change everything, not just AI research, but the entire software development industry, maybe.
Absolutely. It definitely raises some important questions about, like, future of work and different professions and industries.
Oh, sure.
But before we go there, we need to talk about this common misconception about how O1 and O3 actually get these results.
Okay, what's the misconception?
A lot of people think it's all about complex search algorithms, like Monte Carlo tree search, MCTS.
Hmm. I thought search algorithms were a pretty standard part of how AI works.
Oh, they are common for sure, but that's not really how O1 and O3 operate, at least not primarily.
Right.
They're mainly trained using reinforcement learning and use techniques like multi-pass consensus.
Multipass what now?
It basically means they generate a bunch of possible responses and then pick the one that appears most often.
Huh. So it's like the AI is brainstorming with itself, coming up with different solutions, and then going with the one it's most confident in.
Exactly. So instead of searching through this massive database, it's actually generating those responses based on what it's learned from the reinforcement learning.
Okay, that makes sense. So not really relying on searching through tons of information.
Right. It's a very different approach. And what's even more interesting is that all these huge breakthroughs seem to have come from simply scaling up the existing architecture and training methods.
So bigger and better training equals smarter AI. This is almost too simple.
It may sound simple, but believe me, it's definitely not easy.
I bet.
Scaling up these models takes enormous resources, and it brings up a lot of questions about sustainability, accessibility.
Yeah, like, can we even afford to keep scaling up these AI models at this rate, environmentally, economically? And will everyone have access to this technology, or will it just be in the hands of, like, a few powerful companies?
Those are definitely things we need to be thinking about. It seems like we're at this turning point in AI development. We have to push the boundaries of what's possible, but also think about the bigger picture.
Yeah, the ethical implications, societal impact, all of that.
Exactly. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about how we choose to use it.
And how we make sure it's used responsibly.
Right. Which brings us back to this whole deliberative alignment thing.
Yeah.
Seems like OpenAI is trying to build this incredibly smart AI that also knows how to, play by the rules.
Right, but how does that work when we move beyond those neat and tidy tasks like math and coding,
Yeah.
where there's a clear right and wrong answer?
Right.
What happens when we apply these models to, more messy real-world situations?
That is the big question, and it's something we're going to explore more deeply in just a bit, so stay tuned.
All right, sounds good.
So before we get into all that, those more complex real-world applications, it's interesting to note that even with all its groundbreaking capabilities, O3 still has its limitations.
Really? I mean, you'd think a model that can solve the ARC challenge and decode at a grandmaster level could handle pretty much anything. What kind of problems is it having trouble with?
It's fascinating, isn't it? AI, it often surprises us both with what it can do and what it can't. Take the ARC challenge, for example. Even though O3 got an amazing score, 87% accuracy, and that was with a lot of computing power,
Right.
it still couldn't solve every single problem. There were some tasks that seemed simple, for us humans to grasp and figure out. But O3 just couldn't crack them.
So even with all the talk about AI reaching human-level intelligence, it sounds like there are certain aspects of, human cognition that AI just hasn't been able to replicate yet.
Precisely. And these remaining challenges really highlight just how much we still don't know,
About.
both about human intelligence and how to build artificial intelligence.
It's a good reminder that we're still really early on in this whole AI development thing, and there's so much more to discover. But speaking of things we're still figuring out, we were talking earlier about how O3's architecture is still a bit of a mystery. The Interconnects article mentioned some people speculating about whether it uses, complex search algorithms, but it seems like OpenAI is being pretty secretive of the details.
They are, and it's understandable, I suppose, and this is why there's been so much speculation within the AI community.
Right.
But based on what we do know, it seems like O3 is building on the same fundamental principles as O1,
Okay.
just on a much larger scale.
In terms of...
Both the size of the model itself and the amount of data it's trained on.
Right, right. The article also mentioned that some OpenAI employees have stated that O3 is just a model trained with RL.
Reinforcement learning.
Yeah, that's right. And they even went so far as to call the idea that O1 uses complex search, quote-unquote, a PSYOP, implying that these big advancements are mainly a result of, scaling up existing techniques, not inventing totally new ones.
That's a very interesting perspective. If true, it could have some huge implications for the future of AI development.
But yes.
Well, it could mean that we're moving into this era where just giving AI more computing power and data will continue to lead to these big leaps forward.
So the key to building smarter AI is just to, like, think bigger. Give it more data, more computing power. It almost sounds too simple.
It may sound simple, but it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Scaling up these models, it requires immense resources, and it also raises some serious questions about sustainability.
And accessibility too, right?
Exactly. Can we actually afford to keep scaling up AI models at this rate, both in terms of the environmental costs and the economic ones? And will everyone have access to this technology, or will it just be concentrated in the hands of a few powerful entities?
Those are some pretty big questions to consider. It
Yeah.
seems like we're at this really crucial point in AI development where we have to not only push the boundaries of what's possible, but also really carefully consider the wider impacts of all of this.
I completely agree.
But I think it's important to remember that this isn't just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about how we choose to use it.
Absolutely. AI, it's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Yeah.
It's up to us, ultimately, to make sure that these technologies are developed and deployed responsibly with a focus on how they can benefit humanity as a whole.
And a huge part of that is understanding how these systems work, right? The more we know about AI, the better equipped we'll be to make informed decisions about its role in our lives.
Yeah.
Speaking of understanding how things work, we were talking earlier about this resurgence of reinforcement learning, RL, as
Yes.
this like major driving force in AI development.
Yeah.
The Interconnects article had this really interesting quote from Dario Amodei.
Oh, the CEO of Anthropic.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the pioneers of RLHF.
Reinforcement learning from human feedback.
Right. He said that the reason they scaled up their models was because they, quote, weren't smart enough to do RLHF on top of them.
Hmm. That's fascinating. Coming from someone who was so influential in the field of RLHF, it suggests that even the people who were really pushing these techniques early on, maybe they underestimated just how powerful they could become.
Yeah.
The fact that we're now seeing such massive advancements in AI, thanks to RLHF and all these related methods, it really speaks to the power of these approaches.
It does feel like we're at this turning point with AI. And a lot of it seems to revolve around this idea of reinforcement learning.
You're absolutely right. Reinforcement learning, it's already proven incredibly effective in areas like game playing, controlling robots, optimizing those really complex systems.
Mhm.
And now, with its application to these large language models like O1 and O3, we're seeing its potential to unlock like whole new levels of reasoning and AI, problem solving, even creativity.
It's almost like we're giving these AI systems the tools to like learn and adapt on their own,
Yeah.
to become more independent and capable. But as exciting as that is, it also raises some questions, right?
Of course.
Like how much control will we actually have over these systems as they become more intelligent and autonomous?
That's a question that deserves a lot of careful consideration. As these AI systems become more and more sophisticated, it's absolutely crucial that we ensure they stay aligned with our values, human values, and goals.
Right. We need to make sure they're working with us, not against us.
Exactly.
Which brings us back to deliberative alignment, I guess.
Right.
OpenAI's work in this area is really encouraging. It shows that we can train AI not just to like reason effectively, but to actually understand and follow these human-defined guidelines, for safety, ethics. It's like we're trying to instill a sense of responsibility in these incredibly powerful AI systems.
I like that, a sense of responsibility. And it's a responsibility that extends far beyond the researchers and the developers.
Okay.
We all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI. We need to be engaged in these conversations, understand the potential implications, and work together to make sure these technologies are used for good.
And this is where things get really interesting because we're no longer just talking about AI in this like abstract sense. We're talking about how it will affect our everyday life.
Our jobs, our relationships, our whole world, really.
Exactly. And that's a conversation we definitely need to have. So let's dive into those potential real-world applications, shall we? Okay, so we've talked a lot about all these crazy advancements in AI reasoning, but now I want to know, like, how will this stuff actually affect us in the real world, beyond the theoretical challenges and benchmarks?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? We've seen AI excel in these specific areas, math, coding, but those reasoning models could potentially be used for so much more.
Like what?
Imagine AI that can help us tackle climate change or develop totally new medical treatments.
Uh-huh.
What if AI could, like, create personalized education plans that actually adapt to each student's learning style.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Are we really about to live in a world where AI solves all our problems?
I think it's important to be realistic. Even with all the progress we've seen, AI is still a tool at the end of the day.
Right.
And its impact really depends on how we choose to use it. And remember, even O3, as advanced as it is, it still has those limitations.
True, true. So it's not about AI taking over, it's about humans and AI working together.
Yay.
But that does bring up some anxieties around, like, the future of work.
Hmm.
If AI can code like a grandmaster, write marketing copy, even create, art and stuff,
Yeah.
what happens to all the people whose jobs involve those tasks?
I get it. That's a valid concern. There's no doubt that AI will automate certain tasks,
Uh-huh.
maybe even hold job roles, but think about it. Throughout history, every time we've had these big technological advancements,
Oh, yeah.
it's led to brand new industries, new job opportunities that no one could have even imagined before.
Like, a few decades ago, no one would have predicted that we'd have social media managers or, like, user experience designers.
Exactly. It's not just about job displacement, it's about job transformation. As AI starts handling more the routine, repetitive stuff,
Uh-huh.
it frees up humans to focus on those things that require like higher level thinking, creativity, and problem solving. It opens up these really exciting possibilities for collaboration between humans and AI.
So instead of being afraid of AI, we should be thinking about how we can, like, adapt and learn new skills.
Yeah.
So we can actually thrive in a world where AI is everywhere.
Absolutely. It's all about embracing this idea of lifelong learning, developing those new skills, and focusing on what makes us uniquely human.
Like what?
Our empathy, our creativity, our ability to really connect with and understand each other. And speaking of creativity, that's another area where AI is making some serious waves.
Yeah, there's so much debate about whether AI can actually be creative or if it's just mimicking what it's learned from all that human-created data.
It's a question that tends to generate more debate than like concrete answers.
For sure.
But there's no denying that AI is becoming more and more capable of generating things we might consider creative. Music, poetry, visual art. And as these AI models get even more complex, who knows what they'll be able to do?
It's kind of wild to think that AI could contribute to, like, human creativity in such a profound way. Imagine AI helping architects design buildings or musicians composing these incredible symphonies. What about AI collaborating with writers to create amazing stories? The possibilities are endless.
They really are, but it's super important to approach all of this with a critical eye.
Okay.
We need to be asking some tough questions about authorship and originality. Like, what role does human intent play in these creative processes? And how do we make sure that AI is enhancing human creativity, not replacing it or devaluing it?
It does feel like we're stepping into this, like, unknown territory, where the line between human and AI creativity is getting kind of blurry.
We are, and it's full of exciting opportunities, but also ethical dilemmas. We have to be really thoughtful about how we bring AI into these creative fields while also preserving what makes human art so special, so meaningful.
So, as we wrap up this whole deep dive, what's the one big thing you want our listeners to take away from this? What should people be thinking about as they see these insane advancements happening all around them?
I'd say the most important takeaway is this: stay informed, stay curious, and have those thoughtful conversations about where AI is headed.
Okay.
Don't shy away from the complexities, but don't let the hype or the fear overwhelm you either.
It's about finding that balance, right? Acknowledging the risks, but also embracing all the possibilities.
Exactly. And remember, the future of AI isn't predetermined. We're all shaping it together with every choice we make, every action we take. So stay informed, stay curious, stay engaged. The future of AI is in our hands.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope this was insightful. Keep exploring and stay tuned for more deep dives on all the latest developments. Until next time.